Hey guys, and welcome to the hobby vlog. Well, it's an exciting time. I'm about to finish my Soulblight Gravelords army, 2K army. It's pretty cool. So much like the Stormcast one, I haven't actually seen all these together in one place, but for this vlog you're going to see me as we chat about the topics and the different things we're going to talk about. I'm going to be painting up the last of the models I need to finish that army. So these are skeletons here, the Deathrattle skeletons in my custom scheme, which you'll find links to all of those in the down there. By the time this video comes out, there should have been a range of Deathrattle skeleton hobby tips videos and so on the channel that you can take a look at if you want to do it in this scheme, plus obviously all my other videos on the Soulblight characters that I've done in units and so on. So it's really exciting to be doing that, and I thought while we do that, as the topic for today, we're going to discuss sort of army themes and color schemes and matching those ideas with techniques that satisfy that and get an army done. Much of what I do on the channel tends to be in the line of trying to put together color schemes and techniques that are efficient and actually allow you to finish your models and your armies so you can play games with them. So a lot of it tends to be towards that end. So I thought we'd just have a little informal chat about it, as it's quite pertinent to what I'm doing here, and that'll be a bit of fun. But also we've got some news, so we'll have a little chat on some stuff to do with my Blighted Gods brand. The link's in the down there if you want to check that out. Some stuff on what I'm painting coming up, and obviously we've hit 1K subs on the channel now, so that's pretty cool. So thank you for that, and we'll talk about that, I guess. And yeah, just a few other little bits and pieces, back of house stuff, what's happening with the channel and so on. So I thought that'd be all really cool. So yeah, and we'll just try to do these in a batch idea. So much like the previous video I did on batch painting. Isn't something I normally do, but I'm going to try to smash these out because it'd be really fun to get it all done. And yeah, I really want to see this army together because yeah, it's been a while, and I really want to get it on the table. So I guess we should get started, eh? Okay, so I guess we should begin with the news. So yeah, we've hit 1K subscribers on the channel. We're over that now, which is really amazing. I didn't think that would actually happen. I'm pretty surprised that people are listening to me waffle on about this hobby and all my little tutorials and stuff like that. But it seems as though what I'm doing seems to be, helping people out and making them happy, and hopefully improving some aspects of their hobbies, or at least exposing them to some ideas to help improve whatever they're doing, and it seems as though that's happening due to the nice comments and everything that I've been getting on the channel about some of these things that I've been showcasing. So yeah, that's been really lovely to hear and see, and I'm really happy that that's helping you all. It's obviously that's every sort of artist or content creator's dream, is to put creative content out there in the world that actually meets people's expectations, and they enjoy it, and they consume that content or whatever, or enjoy it, and enriches their life and their interests, in this case the hobby, all that kind of stuff. That's really the goal, and so I'm really happy that that's happening. So thank you all for subbing and following along and leaving comments and liking and subscribing and all those types of things that go along with these videos. It really means a lot to me, and I'm very thankful for that. So thank you all so much. I do remember all of your names, and I do my best to reply to everyone. I have basically I work in hospitality outside of doing my art, so my hours are all shift work and that sort of thing, so I can't always reply directly after and so on, but I do my best to reply within a few days at least. So thank you everyone for doing that. So that's really cool. So I guess we'll move on to the back of house stuff. So with the channel, as I said I think on the last one, I'm looking to upgrade the camera and so on, so that'll happen, but probably later in the year. At least my phone camera will be upgraded, and so we'll get hopefully a better overall quality on the visuals, and editing software as well. So that should increase the what you're seeing, and what I'm really hoping for is not just fidelity, but the color space that you're seeing, because a lot of the stuff that I do the camera tends to wash out a bit of the colors, and so you're not really seeing a very accurate image. Even when I'm taking photographs, my camera doesn't quite pick up, the photographic camera doesn't quite pick up the nuance in those colors. So I'm hoping with the upgrade it'll help showcase it more fully. So that's really cool too. And maybe even so yeah, I've also been wanting to tweak the videos a little bit as well, so possibly even on this one, but I'm not sure yet. But I want to start incorporating overlays for descriptors for the paints that I'm using as I'm using them, so that you can see them come up and read the descriptions. So it's a bit easier to know when I'm using certain colors, because I had a comment where I must have mumbled through the words and they couldn't work out what color it was, and even when they put on subtitles, the subtitle thing couldn't actually figure out what I was saying. So you know, even though I do put in the paint list and everything, you know, it can be hard to know exactly what I'm doing, even though the paint pot is there in front of you in the video, which I try to do, but it still can be confusing. So I'm hoping to put overlays in to make that a bit easier for people, and people that, you know, obviously, you know, that maybe hearing impaired or so on, that find it easier for, you know, text-based subtitles and so on, and all of that type of stuff to help them out as well, so that it can make the videos a bit more accessible. Because I do tend to waffle on a bit, and and sometimes I mumble through some words and that sort of thing, or I stutter over something and I don't articulate it correctly. So I do want to try to improve on that. So yeah, I'm hoping to do that. Maybe for this one you'll see it pop up as I'm painting these skellies. But definitely you'll notice in the end and beginning recipe still image that I show, you'll see that I've now separated out the paints into their brands, so it's a bit easier for you to find what brand the color is from. So I'm just slowly trying to tweak all of that, so that's good. So they're just some upgrades there for the channel, and then further to that, you would have seen by now my blue steel custodies that I've been doing on the channel now, at least a couple of videos. There should be by the time this one goes up. That's going to continue. Really excited to put an army of those together. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And alongside that, you know, my experimentation into elves. So I haven't really, you know, painted any elves ever in my 30+ years in this hobby. I've never painted them. So you're going to see a few of those come out. I'm pretty excited to have a go at it, because it does open up some fresh paint schemes and some other ideas that I otherwise wouldn't do. So yeah, that's going to be really cool. So I don't know whether one will be out by the time this video comes out, but they're coming. So I'll be starting with, I'll let you know now, I'll be starting with an Ideneth Deepkin model, because from the Underworlds kit, so one of those, and we'll be doing a little bit of a paint scheme on that as a test model to see how I go with it and how I feel about painting elves. But I figure a soulless elf is a great way to begin, right? For someone who's never really gotten into elves. So I think that'll be good. But I got some other ones in store, so that should be really fun. So yeah, that's pretty much there. And then for my brand Blight of Gods, for any of you that know, I'm a sculptor and I produce my own brand of 3D printable minis. At the moment, mostly in 75mm scale, but there's also busts as well. And I have a card game, although it's not in stock at the moment. And in the future, hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be releasing a totally downloadable for 3D printing tabletop board game or strategy game. So you'll be able to get that and then play some games with. They won't be miniatures to start with, but they're like gaming pieces, so like busts but on plinths. So it'll be, think almost like a chess piece, but with like the bust of a character in it. So it looks really cool. I've done all that, but I just need to like fine tune the rules and everything. But it's sort of a hybrid combination of influences of chess and you know, sort of computer game mechanics and different things that I like about strategy games and that sort of stuff. But on a grid, like on a square grid. So it's a bit more condensed. Hopefully you'll be able to play games of this within, like, you know, 30-40 minutes rather than, you know, 3 hours, that sort of thing. So that's the idea, to make it a bit quicker. But I'll talk about that later in the year, but that's coming up as well, hopefully. So there's a few things there, but definitely you'll see some more tutorials for my sculpts. There'll be a few more coming out very soon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to showcasing that, but that'll come out later. So yeah, I won't waffle on too much about that, but you can check the description in the down there if you want to see more of my work. So that's pretty much the news done. I can't think of anything else that I want to say about that. That's pretty much everything. You know, we've gone through it all, I think. So I think now that we've been just talking about things like elves and opening up paint schemes and things like that, I think that brings us into the main topic of this, which is you know, army themes and you know, color schemes and so on, and matching that with good techniques. You know, it's one of those things that I guess we all kind of, especially in the start when you're like picking the faction you like, and then you're seeing the color scheme that's on the box, and you're kind of, you know, there's a big gap, a dissonance between your ability to produce that and what you think is cool in your head and what you want to see on those models. There's all these like gaps in the process because you haven't formalized those skills yet, and so there's a lot of tension between that, and it can be quite difficult to, until you're meeting that, what you visualize in your mind you can actually produce in front of you. This happens in art as well, so that's a common thing where your imagined world is far more detailed and greater than what you can actually do with your hands, right? With your skills. And so there's often that dissonance. But you know, if you can marry those techniques that are more in line with where you're at in the hobby, you know, and then combine that with the theme of your army and the color scheme, I think you'll have way more chance of success ultimately, which is really what this is about, like trying to succeed at this and get the stuff painted so that, you know, all that money and time you've invested, it does go to something productive, you know, even if you're not gaming with it, just from a creative point of view, that's completing that cycle, that process. It's very important just from a creative standpoint to really dig into that and complete it, because it will give you a sense of satisfaction inside, which you know is really part of the reason why you do it in the first place, even if you don't consciously like recognize that as a thing. And so yeah, I think that's like something that's really valuable. So you know, things like, you know, restricting your palette, I often talk about that. That's a really great way to do it. You know, limiting the number of colors and so on that you're doing across the board, maybe choosing a faster technique combined with something else, picking like a single element or a single idea for your color scheme that's going to be the focus, like I often do with my stuff. So like my Soulblight, it's that blue-green blend on the robes, which is the main focus. The secondary one is the color glazing in the metals, but the technique is quite quick. So, you know, you're not having to labor over the entire thing, you know, and then everything else is black or neutral blacks, you know, all pushed to the background so that you're not having to do really high level painting on every single area of the model. And so that's one way that I've chosen to tackle it, and I think that that's something to keep in mind. You don't have to do it this way, obviously. It's not, that's just, you know, one humble you know, hobbyist slash artist opinion on what to do and what not to do or whatever, but it is something to keep in mind, especially when you're new, is not overloading yourself with too much, you know, and trying to get those wins. That's, you know, building up those endorphin hits, you know, from completing something. That's really important. I often, you know, a lot of creativity is very similar to training in the gym. If you've ever done that before or done any kind of exercise over a longer period of time, you know, often it's very hard to get motivated, but the more you do it and the more you see your body change and, you know, your ability to do those exercises increase, or your strength increase, or your agility or flexibility, or whatever it might be that your goals are, you know, it sort of motivates you to do it more often. It doesn't always, you still can peter out, life can take over, all of those things, and that's true of the hobby as well. But when you've got that motivation there and you're getting those little wins in, it does help for momentum, and that's an important feature of it. And as I just mentioned, goals, you know, setting up intention, which I often talk about, is really great too. So, you know, establishing that theme, that cool idea for your army is excellent, and then going, okay, well, what's the color scheme for that theme? You know, in my case, it was that sort of gothic look, you know, blacks, and, you know, and then I love blue green. So I thought of the colors I love, and then how am I going to approach that in a way that's fun? You know, what am I going to do? What am I going to focus on? You know, and those types of things were all questions that I asked myself, and that's a really great thing to do. You know, don't just blatantly look at the box art and say, okay, that's exactly how it's going to be, because you may not even like that color, or you might, but it might not. It might be, there might be a color combination that actually speaks to you a lot more, and, you know, you've just never thought about it. You'll see that, like in your paint collection, if you haven't done this, you know, or look at all of your old models, you'll notice there's like a theme to the kind of paints that you buy, the kind of colors that you end up choosing more often than not, and you'll go back to those colors over and over again. Well, there's a reason for that. You know, it's not just arbitrary. You're going to be inclined towards a certain color palette naturally, and so recognizing that that's in you and that's something that you love, and then working out what are the techniques that you can utilize to make that happen for you and see that visually in as satisfying a way as you can, right, with wherever you are in the hobby, no matter what skill level you are, like trying to figure out how to make that work and balance that out with time. You know, how much time do you have to do this, and how long is it going to take, you know, and sort of mediate those higher goals and fantasy, the fantasia of like having a complete army, which is, you know, such a huge mountain to cross, right? It's such a big deal to finish a whole army like that of 2,000 points or whatever you're doing. It's a lot, you know, it's hundreds of hours. If you ever actually mathed it out, even fast techniques, it's something like at least 150 to 200 hours for like speed painting kind of level, and it goes up from there. Like it's a huge amount of hours. You know, the average, like, you know, sort of mid-range, nice tabletop standard sort of army that you might see, that's like upwards of 400, 500, 600 hours of painting and hobby time to complete that. And that's only on the average. If you go to like higher levels of like more display, pushing more into display level kind of quality of armies painted, you know, that's over 1,000 hours to complete that. So, you know, mitigating, like, you know, minimizing, or I guess just pegging back in that fantasy of what you can do and what you can't, and trying to figure out a middle ground that will satisfy you and make you happy. I think that's where it's at, and getting those small wins, and then you can build up to that. You can say, okay, well, I can do this now, and I know how long that takes me, so I can now add this extra thing in and increase the look and feel of those models and get an even better look next time. And I know it's only going to take me like maybe a few hours longer or whatever it is, right? And that's another great way to, I guess, you know, attack your army painting. So yeah, they're just a few, I guess, you know, ideas on how to maybe approach it. You know, and there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's a very much, you know, a unique process, and I always talk about that as well. You know, you want to attack this from the point of view of you are a creative individual, and you're like an artistic scientist. You're like digging into, you're in your little, you know, lab there, and you're thinking about inspiration, you know, looking at, you know, other images, other sources of inspiration, books, art, you know, all those type of things, music, whatever it might be that inspires you to help unlock the things about you, your sensibility, and how you like to approach things, to find those techniques that match that theme that you've got in your head, and the colors you're going to use. And the more that synergizes together, the more successful I think you'll end up being, at least in my opinion anyway. That's how I sort of see it. You'll notice this type of synergy idea a lot in a lot of other disciplines. We'll talk about this. I think even, you know, the great Bruce Lee talked about it, you know, sort of marrying action and thought. You know, the closer you get to those two things being together and being one, the higher level of I guess display of your ability you'll be able to do. It flows out of you. You'll see it in like top level athletes and that sort of thing. When they're at their peak, it's like effortless for them. You know, when you saw Michael Jordan, you know, fly through the air when he was at his peak, you know, back in the I guess the 80s or whatever, you know, when the Bulls were huge, and he was jumping through the air and just doing that. It was amazing to watch, right? It was like he was like one of the first to sort of really, you know, come into his own for that stuff, and it was really amazing, you know. But there wasn't just him, there was many others. But, you know, in lots of sports like that, you get those generational stars that are able to really, I believe, hone that thought and action as one, and you just see something really beautiful occur. And that happens in art as well. You will get that kind of synergy happening, even for you, you know, as a little hobbyist sitting there like painting some models on the weekend or whatever after your job and relaxing. You know, it doesn't have to be as highbrow as what I'm talking about, but you'll still hit those little moments of synergy where something just comes together in it, and you look at it and you go, yes, I actually did that. Like I managed to achieve a good result there, and it looks cool and I love it. And when you take it over to your mate's place and you play games and all that sort of stuff, or you go to tournaments, you know, other people get to interact with that. And that's that completing that cycle, you know, you're creating something, you're sharing it with others, they're experiencing it, and you're getting that feedback, and it just goes around and around in a circle and makes the whole thing worthwhile, right? That's the meaning, I believe anyway, in all of that type of stuff. So I won't waffle on too more. I think I've probably you know, completed the length of this vlog and the attention spans of people, so thank you very much for listening. But I guess we should now see how I've gone with these skellies, because at this point I don't actually know how I've gone, but hopefully I finished it, and we'll take a look at the army at the end and the photos and stuff to see how it looks as a whole complete army, plus a few extras. So the vampires and the White King that I've done on the channel, they're not part of the 2,000 points, but I'll show them as well anyway, just because, you know, they're cool and it'll look nice to see them all together. But yeah, let's take a look and see how I've gone. Okay, well, another hobby vlog down. So yeah, this was a bit of a marathon getting through these skeletons, I can tell you. But it was fun. I'm glad I got it done. It's really cool to see this army come together. I'll put some images at the end of all of the models that I've done on the channel here. It's over 2,000 points now, which is great. And yeah, I love a blue-green color scheme, that's for sure. And with Nagash at the head, it's yeah, really cool. I haven't actually seen what they all look like together, so like with the Stormcast, it'll be fresh for me as well as you, so that'll be really cool. And I'll leave a you know, my usual paint list for these as well, if you're interested in that. If you didn't see it at the start of the video, that'll be there too. So hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button, it really helps me out, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one.